the way we present it. That's the way, therefore, people consume it. And they say, whoa, that's advanced. I'm not advanced. I'm not going to deal with that. So, and I think partly that happens because of the accrual of features over time. If we start today and say, here's SQL. SQL includes powerful analytics. It's not an advanced feature, it's SQL. And people start learning it from the start. That may be a way to switch it up. And one of the things we're doing there, so my advocates team has Connor McDonald on it, who's one of the members of the new Ask Tom Answer team. And he's publishing a series of KISS videos, Keep It Simple SQL. And his argument is that SQL doesn't complicate things. SQL, and especially SQL Analytics, makes things much easier. And it's an attempt to publish very short, like 5-minute videos that takes you through explaining and understanding analytics in a very clear, simple way. So hopefully you'll check those out and let us know if you think they are effective.
Yeah, if you haven't seen those, Connor's videos are great. So we'll circle around back if we have time to end, and we'll go on to the next one. So I think this is addressed for Graham. So the NoSQL community, or especially like if you saw that video, NoSQL is like we are web scale. And I actually saw a new ad come out last week for another company saying we are web scale. So is NoSQL really web scale? Is Oracle web scale? What is web scale?
What is web scale? I mean, that's a
big question.
Web scale is always, oh, well, it's really big data sets. Right, so define really big. You know, 6 years ago now, when we were still doing TPCCs, we did 30 million TPMC, so that's 500,000 real ACID compliant transactions per second, each one of those inserting 5 items, so you know that's 2.5 million items being inserted every second. How much are you really doing through your website? Yeah, I mean there are some web scale folks out there. There's Amazon and there's eBay and PayPal maybe. Right? These guys do have millions of transactions per second. There's an awful lot more people who are web scale wannabes. Oh, well, of course, we have to use this technology because we have to be able to scale to how many orders of magnitude more than where you are now? Right? And because of that, you're going to be handcrafting things in systems that don't have a lot of functionality. You have to write in the functionality that you want to do. So things like joins, for example. So, I mean, the whole web scale thing does seem to be very much a fashion. It's put out there. My favorite Larry quote is that he once said that the IT business is the only business that is more fashion conscious than ladies' shoes. And I think that's right. You know, web scale became a very fashionable thing to be. NoSQL is a very fashionable thing to be.
Yeah.
So there's folks are caught up in the hype. Andy was saying these things go through a cycle. They're much hyped and then they tail off. Relational databases have gone through 30 years of competitors coming and going. So I think.
But I think there's something of a different aspect to this latest phase, because what's happened in the last 10, 15 years is that the concept of what is a user has changed. Users used to be corporate employees, and enterprise systems were pretty much the dominant form of software. Now users are consumers. And what you have is it's like the latest gold mine, the gold field. So it's a gold rush to find the apps that will generate the eyeballs, that get the ad revenue, that drive money to your company. And so that's why I think there's so much focus on these new fashionable software solutions, because they drive fast adoption or fast implementation of user interfaces to present new apps to users to get eyeballs. And they're going to keep doing that for a while. There's going to be a tremendous amount of churn, I think, in this part of the world, because once consumers are opened up as the key driver for revenue, there's no going back.
Cool, thanks. So we're running short, so I'll go on to the next question. Anybody have a quick soundbite? Anybody want to add anything else to that? Keep it short.
That was it?
No. If anybody wants to throw anything out before we go on to the next one. Okay, the next one is, so this is for Brim. So how does PL/SQL performance fit into this discussion?
This is a trick question in a way. It's a plant, and it was just crafted because I was sitting here. But
custom-made question for Brian.
The serious answer to the question is that I'll talk at some length at 10 o'clock tomorrow on the topic of why PL SQL is there and what it's for. The good news is that it was selected as the editor's choice, or one editor's choice. The bad news is it's concurrent with Mohammed on everything you've ever wanted to know in your whole life about the optimizer. So if one or two people come, I will be thrilled. I'll take the chance now to address a slightly different question first, one which I begged Iggy and Kyle to address and made clear, and they didn't, so here it goes. SQL is the theme of this panel, SQL as opposed to something else, but we haven't said what we mean by SQL, but it's crystal clear what most people in this discussion are taking it to mean, and it's select, insert, update, delete, and I suppose commit, as more or less they correspond to Cotton Date's relational algebra. That seems to be the way we're taking SQL. But there's an entirely different operational definition of it for anyone who works exclusively with Oracle Database or thinks now of Oracle Database. And that's that SQL is any piece of text that you can get done using something like SQL+. And the interesting thing about Oracle Database is that there is only one API to it, and that's these text statements that you throw at it. And by definition, in one school of thought, they are only SQL. Graham vigorously disagrees with this. It's only to say that we don't have a vocabulary that's sufficient. But it's certainly true that it's called SQL+. It's certainly true we have something called DBMS SQL.parse that accepts surely a SQL statement. It's certainly true that we have a view called $SQL that shows you some, not all, of the texts that you can get done this way, but among the texts it does show you is an anonymous PL SQL block. Well, since we're having this conversation, since I got this question, clearly we're talking exactly and only at this little moment about the Oracle database. And then the question is, again, what I'll address at length tomorrow, if you're going to do insert, update, delete, select, doubtless commit, how are you going to do them? The other interesting thing about SQL that people rarely mention, and no one has mentioned it yet, is that you can't write a program with it. Its scope of concept doesn't extend beyond the single statement. There are not many things that you can achieve with a single SQL statement. And anyway, this piece of text that is so declarative and so wonderful, how do you make it go? Well, there's only one way to make it go. That's to squirt it out of some or other ordinary if-then-else language. And now there's just two ways of doing it. Have that language running outside of the database, or have it running inside. And the purpose of PL SQL is to be inside the database and to be the vehicle for doing insert, update, delete, commit in a coherent fashion so that the many operations on the many tables that you want to do to achieve a certain business purpose either succeed or fail as a unit controlled in that fashion. And obviously select, I won't say any more about that. So that's what PL SQL is for. It's just one among many things for getting the SQL done, but it has properties that make doing it that way hugely advantage. And then the SQL that the outside world does to the database is limited to the call statement.
So if I understand correctly, then using PL SQL is a way to sort of supercharge your SQL or make it more efficient because you're running it in the database.
I wouldn't put it that way. I would say that the purpose of any kind of persistence mechanism is to store the right stuff and to give you only back the right stuff. I didn't invent that idea. I heard it from the conference platform from Chris Tate. But it's certainly a crucial idea, isn't it? So correctness is most important. Talking about performance is a luxury, at least in our world, the kind of application that relational databases are used for, money, people's life and death, all that stuff. You know, there's no eventual consistency with my bank account. So in that arena, correctness is most important, and security is also vital. As it happens, if you do the actual stuff that Graham considers a SQL, the insert, update, delete, and select, only within the database